let's talk about how you can stay fit while working an intense corporate job. One of the main reasons why I started posting on social media is because a lot of people couldn't believe that you can work an intense job and not look like a bag of rice. People thought that once you start working in corporate after university, you're more or less gonna look fat, unhealthy, like not jacked. I wanted to show people you can work in corporate and still look very good. So let's talk about it in this video. This video is going to be divided into training and diet. And in terms of training, we're going to cover when's the best time to train, how to actually structure your training plan, how to ensure you train intensely, and if you should do cardio in the steps and what amount you should do. Let's start with training times. In terms of training times, there's more or less only 3 times you can train: before work, during work, and after work. The whole goal should be to pick a time you can train and be consistent with, but in my opinion, the best time to train if you work an intense job is before work. The second best time is during work, and the worst time is literally after work. Let me tell you why. If you work an intense job, you probably work long hours. You probably finish at 8 p.m, 10 p.m. There's no way on earth you're going to train properly or with any sort of intensity at 8 p.m. or 10 p.m. However, what if you work out before work? I'm talking 5 a.m, 6 a.m, 7 a.m. You're able to, number one, give it your whole effort. Number two, working out before work allows you to carry on your day uninterrupted. So that way, if you need to stay past 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. to continue your deal, you're very happy to do it because, well, not happy, but you're more inclined and ready to do it because you've already worked out. And also, what I like to do is, before I train, I take some pre-workout. That caffeine is still in your system until you get to work, so you're able to leverage on that workout high. Now, some people like to train during their lunch break or during work. I tried doing this for I think 2 or 3 weeks, and it didn't work out for me because, number one, you need to bring in your workout clothes, soap, hopefully, please bring in soap, change of underwear, your gym bag. Like, there's so much stuff you need to prepare the night before that it's really hard to make sure you actually work out during lunch consistently. And also, anyone can decide to put a meeting during that time you want to train, and some of the time those meetings can be moved, and the end of the day comes is 6 p.m. and you've actually not trained at all, which is really bad. Now let's talk about how to actually structure your training plan. Your training plan should do 2 things. Number one, maximize muscle growth, and number 2, allow maximal recovery. How can you do this? And it's not a one size fits all. I might be able to train for 5 days, you might only do 3 days. It all really depends on the individual. But what you want to do in terms of a training plan is make sure that you're hitting each muscle group at least twice per week. And twice per week is not a magic number. It's just I want to train the muscle as frequently as you can recover from. So for chest, it might be twice per week. For side delts, it's probably 4 times a week. For legs, I do legs once a week and I'm fried. So it really depends on you as a person. And also what you should do is adjust your volume based on how you feel during the day. Now, if you work an intense job, you sleep late, your recovery is not going to be the best. And honestly, there's no way to really improve this. We work long hours, our recovery is not going to be great. So if you're going to train the next morning, assess how recovered you feel. A lot of people have the Aura ring, I can't pronounce it, but a lot of people have that ring that tells them if they recovered well or not. For me, I've been training for a long time. Once I wake up, I know if I'm going to do 3 sets of deadlift that day or 2 sets. So make sure you actually learn to adjust your volume based on how you feel. Now let me actually give an example of a training split you can do if you work an intense job. For most of us, we are free on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. So actually, I'm going to structure my training split from Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, I'm going to hit legs because most of you skip legs. If you're watching this video, you have like very small legs, please train them. Saturday, I'm going to do legs. Sunday, I'm going to do upper body. I'm going to rest on Monday, and I'm resting on Monday because, number one, I just train back-to-back days, and number 2, I want to start off my week getting the most important tasks done quickly. Tuesday, I'm going to do back and legs, and on back and legs, I'll do a deadlift, leg extensions, and some back exercises. On a Wednesday, I'll train push, which is chest, shoulders, and triceps. Thursday, I'll rest. Friday, I might decide to work out and do something like arms or maybe even back again. But more times than not, on Fridays, I rest. As you can see with this split, you're more or less training each muscle group twice per week. On Wednesday and Sunday, you want to train your chest. On Tuesday and Sunday, you want to train your back. On Saturday and Tuesday, you want to train your legs. And arms, you more or less just top it up each day. And that's how you actually make progress. Also, by making sure you know what muscle group you're training that day makes a huge difference, because some splits are more or less chest, legs, off, back, off. And those off days could vary depending on what week it is. But if you know exactly on Wednesday, I'm going to do chest, I'm going to train in the office, you can pack your dip belt or just have that always in your locker every Wednesday, and it makes a huge difference. Now let's go into cardio and steps. Should you do cardio? Should you do steps? How much steps? How much cardio? Your training should do 2 major things. Number 1, increase muscularity, and number 2, improve the function of your heart. To increase muscularity, you must go to the gym, lift heavy weights. Don't go to some room or in a corner and lift 2 kilo dumbbells. You literally have to kill yourself. And number 2, it needs to improve the function of your heart, because that's how your heart works more efficiently. And to improve the function of your heart, you can't train or keep your heart rate elevated when you train for that long. Your heart needs to be pushed, and you do that with cardio. Now the cardio you do is up to you. What I do is make sure whatever I'm doing, the bike, Stairmaster, even if I want to swim, I can't swim, I should use that example, but even if I want to jog, I just want to make sure my heart rate stays above 130 for a prolonged period of time, and that could be 20 minutes, 25 minutes. It all really depends on your goals. But for me, when I was dieting down for a show, I was doing 35 minutes of cardio each day on the treadmill, incline walking, very low intensity because I want to be able to recover from it. You might prefer to do some HIIT cardio. You might prefer to actually do boxing for cardio instead. It's all really up to you. And in terms of steps, how much steps should you do? We all know we've heard 10K steps, 10K steps, 10K steps. And honestly, just do 10K steps. Start with 10K steps. If you find it's too large or it's too small, then, you know, adjust accordingly. But what you should do is for 1 week or for 2 weeks, just track how many steps you do on a normal day without actually trying to push the envelope. And if that's for you, it's 7K, then probably 10K is quite feasible. But if in a day you only do 2K steps, then honestly, you probably need to improve it. When I'm trying to do a task, I'm not sure what to do. I actually walk on the floor, like all the way to the end and back. Like if you're working for an investment bank, the floor is probably very large. So you just walk on the floor, think, after your meals, try and get some steps in. When you can't decide what to do on a task, go get some fresh air, walk for 5 minutes and come back. Like there's different stuff you can do during your day just to improve your step count. If you're enjoying the video so far, make sure you drop a like and leave a comment. It goes a long way. Now let's talk about diet, which is a part most people get wrong, and it's actually the most important part about this whole process. I would say diet 90%, training 10%. But in terms of diet, there are more or less 3 states you can be, and your diet should reflect one of those 3 states. You can either be in a calorie deficit, meaning you're trying to lose fat. You can either be in maintenance, meaning you're trying to maintain your weight, or you can be in a calorie surplus, meaning you're trying to gain muscle and you're getting a bit of fat in the process. You have to decide where on that spectrum you want to be. But what I've actually found that works is most people in banking more or less want to lose fat or maintain. The problem, however, is if they're trying to eat their maintenance calories, they don't actually account for the extra donut someone will buy for them. They go to All In Steam and buy some pastries or the chocolate bar you get from the vending machine. They don't account for those little stuff each day, pushes them into a surplus, not maintenance. So in my opinion, if you work in corporate, you're at your desk all the time, you want to be in a calorie deficit, and on the weekend, try and be in a slight surplus. And that way it actually averages out because you end up being over the whole week on average in a slight deficit or just around maintenance. And that's how you want to do it. But how do you actually find out how much calories you should eat? This is what you should do. You go online and type in macro calculator or calorie calculator. You put in your bio data, and it's going to ask you a very important question, which is where a lot of people mess up. It's going to ask you, what's your activity level like? Are you lightly active, moderate active, or very active? If you work a desk job most of the day, you are not active. You should pick the lowest one. When I did my DEXA scan in September, the person that did it more or less told me that a lot of people overestimate how active they are. Think about it. You're sat at your desk for 10 hours, you exercise 1 hour of that day, and you do 10K steps, and all of a sudden you're very active. You're not very active. You're not active at all, to be honest. So make sure you put the lowest activity. Let's say it gives you a calorie count of 3,000 calories to maintain your weight. For a whole week, weigh yourself each morning and eat 3,000 calories and see what your weight does. If that amount is accurate, your weight should more or less maybe increase or decrease plus 0.1, but more or less it should stay the same the whole week. What you then do is remove 250 calories or 200 calories from that and eat around 2,800 calories on the weekdays, and on the weekends eat in a slight surplus and eat around 3,500. And over the week, if you do the average, your more is going to be around 3,000 calories, and that's how you actually want to structure your diet. Now let's go into what foods to eat. If you don't take your health serious, you want the majority of your food to come from single food ingredients. So I'm talking rice, chicken, steak, potatoes, oats. Avoid food that's very processed. Your whole diet should be more or less 5 to 10% processed food if you must. The best thing to do is have 100% non-processed food, and honestly, I'm probably like 90%. I like, rice cake sometimes, but the goal should be majority of your diet should be less processed foods. Now, if you work in banking or law or in tech or any sort of, intense job, you're very tempted all the time to just try and get a Snickers from the vending machine, or go to All In Steam and get a pastry, or Black Sheep and get a cupcake. Like, that temptation is really there. So what you should do is prep your food on the weekends if you can. If you can't, in Canary Wharf, in St. Paul's, in Bank, there are a lot of food choices that, are very healthy. For example, Farmer J, even though I hate it, I think it's a rip-off. The food is quite good. It's single ingredient foods, quite pricey, but that's the price you're gonna pay if you don't meal prep your food. It's also like tossed. There's a lot of different shops that serve really healthy food, so there's no excuse, to be honest, not to be able to stay on plan and eat healthy food. Now, everything I've talked about in this video and everything I talk about on my channel is underpinned by discipline and consistency. Like, you're not gonna see results overnight. If you wanna stay in shape, you must sacrifice. You must sacrifice, that cupcake your friend offers you, or that Krispy Kreme donut your coworker brings because it's their birthday. Like, I'm not saying don't have fun, but if in the way you want to be, it's only your fault. It's not anyone else's fault. You can't blame anyone for you deciding to eat pizza every single day or go drinking every single day. Like, honestly, make the decision for the betterment of your future. Like, it all comes down to that. If you're interested in any sort of online coaching, hit me up on Instagram, Emeka Odo, or hit the link tree in my bio and book a free consultation. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.